Hi YouTube. You know how sometimes things fail kind of gradually, and then sometimes things happen just like that, all of a sudden. Well, the other day I parked the van and shut the engine off. Everything was normal. And the next day when I went to start the van, I cranked the engine. It sputtered a little bit and stalled. And so I tried again. Same thing. Nothing. Uh-oh. We got a problem. Now, I've been around mechanical stuff all my life, and I've kind of got a little bit of a sixth sense. When something like this happens, I sit quietly and I listen and wait for a word from the ether. Yep, that's the word that came. Fuel. Now, you know, you may not be so gifted but that's okay. Here's a little tidbit of useful knowledge. Combustion is that thing that happens inside of the engine to make the wheels go around and us down the road. It requires three things: fuel, air, and a source of ignition. So that can be also known as spark in the case of a gasoline combustion engine. So to test this word from the ether, I got a can of ether. Go figure. Better known as starting fluid. I removed the doghouse and unscrewed the top of the air filter housing, removed the air filter, and I squirted some ether, or starting fluid, down into the throttle. This time when I cranked the engine, it fired right up. It ran for a few seconds and then stopped. Because why? Because the ether was gone. It ran out of fuel. So, what this told me was I have spark, I have air, and the thing that's missing is fuel. So that confirmed the word from the ether. It tells me the fuel pump probably isn't pumping fuel the way it's supposed to do. There are several possible reasons. I don't have a leak or anything like that, but there are several reasons why a pump can fail or not pump. Two of the more likely culprits are either the pump has failed, the relays that turn the pump off and on have failed, or a combination of both. So the first step was check those relays, because they're the easiest thing to check. I opened the hood, I found the relays. Here's a picture of where they are. They're over behind the battery in my case. They may be in a different spot on your particular vehicle, but this is where they are on the Roadtrek. I unplugged each one. Here's a little schematic. There's kind of a cross pattern of connectors, two going one direction and two going perpendicular to those. And so the process is to connect an ohm meter or a multimeter that makes a little beeping noise, that kind of thing, to two of the connectors like this, and then connect the other two connectors to 12-volt power, which is what I did. And when I applied the 12-volt power to the positive and negative connections, I got a click from the relay and a beep from the meter. So that tells me when I apply power to the relay, bing, it closes, creates a circuit that should send current back to the fuel pump. The other relay is a shutdown relay that works the opposite way, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it works the opposite way. When power is disconnected, it opens up and shuts power off to the fuel pump, so you don't accidentally pump fuel through 12 volts without the engine running. That'd make a big mess. So that let me know the relays are working okay. Now I got to go back to the pump, and that's going to be a big deal. Why? Because the pump is inside the fuel tank, connected to the float that controls the fuel gauge on the dashboard, along with other stuff, filter and other things. It looks like a coffee can kind of that drops into the fuel tank, and it's on top. So that means the fuel tank has to be dropped away from the chassis so that you can get access to the fuel pump. That's going to be fun. So before I contract that work and get all involved in that, I want to make sure there's maybe not something else amiss. So to test a fuel pump that's set up like this, there's kind of a shade tree mechanic way of doing it. And what it involves is taking a rubber mallet and banging on the bottom of the fuel tank, creating a vibration and kind of a, kind of jostling the fuel tank, or the fuel pump, I guess you'd say. And then trying to start the vehicle and see if you can get the fuel pump to work. And sure enough, it's better to do it with somebody else. Crank the engine while somebody else hits the fuel tank. I was by myself, so I just thumped the fuel tank and then got in and tried to start it, and sure enough, it started right up. So I knew at that point the pump was probably on its last legs. Now it was a matter of finding somebody to drop the tank and change out the fuel pump, because I can't do it in my driveway. It's kind of too dangerous. And that's when the fun began, because when I took it down, I found somebody that would work on it after many phone calls. Somebody finally said, yeah, I'll do it. I've done it before. And I took it to them, and that's when they discovered that, at least on the Roadtrek, I don't know about other Dodge B350s, but the studs that the nuts thread onto, that hold the straps that hold the fuel tank in place, the studs are so long that a regular socket won't go all the way up the studs and be able to catch onto the nut to unloosen it. So we had to make a tool. Okay, so now once we had the tool made, things went along pretty good. And, it's just a matter of taking it out, being careful of the gas and so forth, removing the faulty part, replacing a good part. And in the process of doing that, we also fixed wiring and waterproofed things and put in a new fuel filler hose. So we took advantage of the fact the tank was out to do other repairs at the same time. It's a fairly expensive repair. It ran me about $1,000. Here's a copy of the receipt. Part of that was getting the best pump that could be found with a lifetime guarantee. You know how I like lifetime guarantees, which we did. And part was fabricating the tool. And then part is just the careful, tedious, precarious process of dealing with gasoline, a highly volatile thing that you don't want it to spill, or people to walk around smoking cigarettes or that kind of thing. So you got to be very careful with gasoline. The good news was it happened right in my driveway. I had just gotten back from a trip several days fairly far away from home, and it happened right in my driveway. That's nice. And the best part was I got to meet a new friend in Shoemaker, the owner of the shop that did the work for me. He specializes in Mazda and Subaru, but he has 35 years of experience, dealership experience, factory trained experience. He's a very knowledgeable mechanic. So should you run into any kind of a problem in Santa Cruz area, please call Ron. He's accommodating, and he'll do the very best to help you out with whatever your situation is. As always, the Roadtrek gets the very best of care I can give it, and Ron was up to the task. So that's it. Fuel pump died. It's alive again with a new fuel pump. And off we go for some new adventures. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you think it might help somebody else, please share it with them. If you'd like to get more content like this, then subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll be notified when new content gets posted. Thanks for watching this video and all the videos on this channel. And as always, comment as you see fit. Till the next video, see you later.